The cold metal floor felt strange under Captain John Martinez's hands as he pushed himself up from the revival pod. His body ached like he had been sleeping for years, which wasn't far from the truth. The bridge of the USS Vengeance was dark except for the soft blue glow of emergency lights. "Captain, you are awake," said a calm female voice from the ship's speakers. It was Aria, the ship's artificial intelligence that had watched over them during their long sleep. "How long?" John asked, his voice rough and dry. 312 years, Captain. The automated systems detected the right conditions for revival 18 hours ago. 300 years. John's mind struggled to process this. The last thing he remembered was the final battle against the Zephyrian Empire. Humanity had been losing the war badly. Earth was gone, destroyed by alien weapons. The remaining human fleet had activated the Great Sleep Protocol as their last desperate move. "Status of the crew?" John asked as he stood up slowly, his legs shaking. "Revival is proceeding normally. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks and Chief Engineer Tony Clark have already awakened. They are in the medical bay helping Dr. Helen Parker with the revival process." John looked around the bridge. Other pods were opening with soft hissing sounds. His crew was waking up, one by one. These were the best soldiers, pilots, and engineers that humanity had left. 5,000 people who had volunteered to sleep until the galaxy forgot about them. "Sir?" a voice called out. It was Commander Steve Williams, his tactical officer. Steve was pulling himself out of his pod, looking confused and tired. "We made it, Steve. We're awake. How long were we out?" 3 centuries. Steve's eyes went wide. 300 years? What happened to the war? "Area, show us the current galactic situation," John ordered. The main screen came to life, displaying a map of the galaxy. Where human colonies used to be marked in blue, now alien territories were shown in different colors. Red for the Zephyrians, green for the Corlin Collective, purple for the Mantid Empire and others. The Galactic Coalition was formed 50 years after humanity's disappearance, Arya explained. 7 alien species divided human space among themselves. They believe humanity is extinct. John felt anger rising in his chest. The aliens had taken everything. Every human world, every colony, every piece of space that his people had built over centuries of exploration. More crew members were waking up now. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks entered the bridge, looking much more alert than the others. She had always been quick to recover from anything. "Captain, the medical bay is reporting good revival rates. Dr. Parker says everyone should be awake within 6 hours." "Good. What's the status of our ship?" Chief Engineer Tony Clark's voice came. "Over the comm system." "Sir, this is Tony in engineering." "The quantum fusion cores are running at full power. All systems are green. The automated fabrication units have been busy during our sleep." "Busy how?" "You need to see this, sir. Can you come down to the weapons bay?" John made his way through the ship's corridors, passing crew members who were slowly walking around, getting used to being awake again. The USS Vengeance was huge, over 2 miles long and carrying enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. In the weapons bay, Tony Clark was grinning like a child with a new toy. "Captain, look at this. The AI didn't just maintain our weapons during the sleep. It improved them." John stared at the massive weapon systems that lined the bay. These weren't the plasma cannons and missile launchers he remembered. These were something entirely new. "What am I looking at, Tony?" "Quantum torpedo launchers, sir, and plasma lance arrays. The AI spent 300 years designing and building new weapons. We're not just carrying the same firepower we had before. We're carrying weapons that are centuries ahead of anything the Coalition has." John felt a smile forming on his face for the first time since waking up. "How many fighters do we have?" 300 advanced fighters, sir, all equipped with stealth technology and weapons the aliens have never seen." "And pilots?" "Phoenix. Squadron is being revived now. Squadron leader Rick Thompson should be awake within the hour." John nodded and made his way back to the bridge. The main screen was still showing the galactic map, but now Area was highlighting specific systems. "Captain, I have been monitoring Coalition communications during your sleep. They have grown comfortable with their victory. Their military tactics have not advanced significantly. They believe they face no real threats. They're about to learn otherwise, John said quietly. Steve Williams had taken his position at the tactical station. Sir, what are our orders? John looked at the map again. So many human worlds now under alien control. So many people who had probably been enslaved or killed. His people had trusted him to protect them, and he had failed. But now he had a chance to make things right. We don't announce our return, John decided. We stay hidden and strike at their weak points. They think humanity is gone forever. Let's use that against them. Hit and run tactics? Lisa Brooks asked. Exactly. We gather intelligence, rescue any humans we can find, and slowly weaken their forces. When they finally realize we're back, it will be too late. Dr. Helen Parker's voice came over the comm. Captain, I finished reviving the command staff. Squadron leader Rick Thompson is asking to speak with you. Send him up. Rick Thompson entered the bridge a few minutes later. He was a tall man with quick eyes and steady hands, the best pilot John had ever known. Rick looked around the bridge, taking in the situation quickly. Sir, Phoenix Squadron is ready for action. What's the mission? We're going to remind the galaxy that humanity is still alive, John replied. And we're going to take back what's ours. Rick smiled, the same expression John remembered from before their long sleep. About time, sir. John turned to the navigation station where Amy Foster was now working. Amy, plot a course to the nearest Coalition supply depot, somewhere quiet where we can test our new capabilities. Yes, sir. I'm showing a Corlin supply station in the New Geneva system. Light defenses, mostly automated. Perfect. Steve, I want a full tactical analysis of their defenses. Tony, make sure all our new weapons are ready. Lisa, coordinate with department heads and make sure everyone knows we're going back to war. The bridge came alive with activity as his crew began preparing for their first mission in 3 centuries. John looked at the galactic map one more time. The aliens thought they had won. They thought humanity was finished. They were about to discover how wrong they were. Commander Steve Williams sat in front of multiple screens in the intelligence center, his eyes scanning data that made his stomach turn. 300 years of alien occupation had changed everything. The reports were worse than anyone had imagined. Captain, you need to see this, Steve called out as John Martinez entered the room. Intelligence Officer Karen Davis looked up from her workstation. She had been awake for only 12 hours, but already she had compiled a detailed report on the current galactic situation. What am I looking at? John asked, studying the numbers on the main display. The Coalition controls 62% of the galaxy, Karen explained. Their combined fleets number over 40,000 ships. The Zephyrians alone have 15,000 vessels. Steve pulled up another screen. But here's the interesting part, sir. Their technology hasn't advanced much since we went to sleep. They've been so dominant that they stopped innovating. John nodded slowly. No pressure to improve when you have no real enemies. Exactly. And there's more. Intelligence suggests the Coalition members don't trust each other. The Zephyrians and the Corlin Collective have had border disputes for the last 50 years. The Mantid Empire keeps to itself and only participates in Coalition meetings when forced to. Dr. Helen Parker joined them carrying a medical tablet. Captain, I've finished the full crew revival. Everyone is healthy and ready for duty, but I found something else during the process. What is it, Helen? Some of the crew members have genetic markers that suggest their families survived the initial conquest. We might have relatives out there, sir. The thought hit John harder than he expected. Family. People who might still be alive after all these years. Descendants of the humans who didn't make it to the sleep ships. How is that possible? Steve asked. Not all humans were killed, Karen answered, checking her reports. Many were taken as slaves. The aliens found humans useful for certain types of work. Mining, construction, technical repairs. John felt his hands form fists. They enslaved our people. Yes, sir. And from what I can tell, there are still human populations on dozens of worlds. They've been serving the Coalition for 3 centuries. Chief, Engineer Tony Clark entered the intelligence center, wiping grease from his hands. He had been working non-stop to understand all the improvements Aria had made to their ship. Captain, I've finished the full systems check. You're not going to believe what our AI accomplished during our sleep. Show me. Tony activated a holographic display that showed the USS Vengeance in detail. The automated fabrication systems didn't just maintain our equipment. They completely rebuilt our weapon systems, improved our engines, and created new defensive systems. The hologram zoomed in on the ship's fighter bays. We now have 300 fighters, each one equipped with technology the Coalition has never encountered. Stealth capabilities that make our ships invisible to their sensors, weapons that can punch through any armor they have. How do you know their armor capabilities? John asked. Karen pulled up another screen. We've been monitoring their communications and military exercises. Their ship designs are basically the same as they were 300 years ago, just bigger. Steve laughed, but there was no humor in it. They got lazy. Very lazy, Tony agreed. Our plasma lance arrays can cut through their heaviest battleships like they're made of paper. And our quantum torpedoes? They don't even have defenses against that technology. What about our pilots? John asked. As if summoned by the question, Squadron Leader Rick Thompson walked into the room. Behind him came several other pilots, all looking eager and ready for action. Phoenix Squadron is ready, sir, Rick reported. We've been running simulations based on the intelligence data. Our pilots are excited to test the new fighters. One of the pilots, a young woman named Rachel Moore, stepped forward. Sir, permission to speak freely? Go ahead. We've been studying the Coalition fighter tactics. They rely entirely on superior numbers and basic attack patterns. No creativity, no adaptation during combat. They fight like machines following a program. Rick nodded. Rachel's right. Their pilots have never faced real opposition. They've gotten comfortable with easy victories. That's about to change, John said firmly. Dr. Helen Parker cleared her throat. Captain, there's something else. During the revival process, I discovered that several crew members have specific skills that might be useful for our situation. Such as? Lieutenant Ben Cooper spent years before the war working with alien technology. He understands how their systems work. And engineer Mary Johnson specialized in communication systems. She might be able to help us monitor Coalition channels without being detected. Tony's eyes lit up. Mary Johnson, I remember her. She was brilliant with electronic warfare. Good. I want both of them assigned to special duties. Ben works with Tony on understanding Coalition technology. Mary works with Karen on intelligence gathering. Steve pulled up a new display showing potential targets. Captain, I've identified several supply depots and communication relays that would make good first targets. All of them are lightly defended and far from major Coalition bases. Show me the closest one. The display focused on a system that had once been called New Geneva, one of humanity's outer colonies. Now it housed a Corlin supply depot that served an entire sector of Coalition space. The depot stores fuel and ammunition for over 200 Coalition ships, Steve explained. It's defended by 12 automated platforms and a small patrol of 6 fighters. Usually, there's one Corlin light cruiser on station. Intelligence on the Corlin cruiser? Karen consulted her data. Standard Corlin design. Heavy armor, but slow. Energy shields that our new weapons should penetrate easily. Crew of about 400. John studied the tactical display. It would be their first real test against Coalition forces. 300 years of preparation against an enemy that had grown soft from easy victories. What about survivors? Dr. Helen asked. If there are human slaves at the facility, I've cross-referenced the intelligence reports, Karen answered. The depot uses slave labor for loading and maintenance work, probably 50 to 100 humans. Then rescue is part of the mission, John decided. We can't leave our people behind. Rick Thompson stepped closer to the display. Sir, request permission to lead the strike personally. Phoenix Squadron has been waiting 3 centuries for this. Granted, but this is a stealth operation, Rick. In and out before they know what hit them. Understood, sir. Tony Clark looked thoughtful. Captain, what about communication? If we attack the depot, eventually word will reach Coalition Command. They'll know someone is hitting their facilities. Let them wonder, John replied. At first, they'll think it's pirates or rebels. By the time they realize it's something bigger, we'll have hit a dozen targets and rescued hundreds of our people. Steve nodded approvingly. Fear and confusion work in our favor. Amy Foster's voice came over the comm system from the bridge. Captain, I've plotted our course to the New Geneva system. We can be there in 18 hours using the hyperspace routes the Coalition doesn't monitor. Excellent. Rick, have your pilots ready for launch in 16 hours. Steve, I want full tactical plans for the assault. Tony, make sure all our new systems are ready for combat testing. As his officers began to leave, John called out to them. Everyone understand what we're doing here. We're not just attacking a supply depot. We're announcing to the galaxy that humanity is back. Dr. Helen paused at the doorway. And what if we're not strong enough? What if one ship can't make a difference? John looked at the galactic map still displayed on the main screen. So much. Red, green, and purple where blue used to be. So many human worlds under alien control. Then we'll make them remember why they were afraid of us in the first place. The USS Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Geneva system. Its massive hull invisible to Coalition sensors thanks to the advanced stealth systems Area had developed during their long sleep. Captain John Martinez stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display as it painted a picture of their first target in 3 centuries. Contact, announced Karen Davis from her intelligence station. 1 Corlin light cruiser in orbit around the depot. 6 patrol fighters on routine patrol patterns. Automated defense platforms are active but not on high alert. Any sign they've detected us? John asked. Negative, sir. Their sensors are scanning right through us. Squadron leader Rick Thompson's voice crackled over the comm from the fighter bay. Phoenix Squadron ready for launch, Captain. All pilots briefed and systems green. John looked at the display showing the Corlin supply depot. It was a massive structure built into an asteroid, with docking bays that could service dozens of ships at once. According to their intelligence, it stored enough fuel and ammunition to supply Coalition forces across an entire sector. Steve, what's our tactical assessment? Commander Steve Williams pulled up a detailed analysis. The Corlin cruiser is old, probably 50 years past its prime. Standard energy shields and plasma cannons. The patrol fighters are newer but basic models. The automated platforms pack a punch, but they're designed to stop smugglers, not a full military assault. And the human prisoners? Thermal scans show approximately 80 humans in the lower levels of the facility. They appear to be in the maintenance and cargo sections. Dr. Helen Parker looked up from her medical station. I have rescue teams standing by, Captain. We can have them ready to deploy as soon as the fighting stops. Good. Tony, status of our new weapon systems? Chief Engineer Tony Clark's voice came over the comm with obvious excitement. All systems ready, sir. The plasma lance arrays are charged and the quantum torpedo tubes are loaded. This will be our first real test of what Area built for us. John nodded and activated the ship-wide comm. All hands. This is the captain. Today we begin our mission to take back what the Coalition stole from us. We're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting for every human slave in the galaxy and for the memory of Earth itself. Make them remember why they feared us. He switched to the fighter squadron frequency. Rick, you are cleared for launch. Remember, this is a stealth operation until you engage the targets. Understood, sir. Phoenix Squadron launching now. John watched on the main screen as 12 advanced fighters silently left the USS Vengeance's bays. The fighters were sleek and deadly, equipped with cloaking technology that made them completely invisible to Coalition sensors. Rick Thompson led them toward the depot in a precise formation. Fighters are approaching the patrol route, Karen reported. Coalition fighters are still following their standard patterns. No indication they suspect anything. The first sign of trouble for the Coalition came when their patrol fighters simply vanished from sensors. Rick Thompson and his pilots had struck with perfect precision, using their advanced weapons to destroy all 6 enemy fighters before they could send a distress signal. Patrol eliminated. Rick's voice came over the comm. Moving to attack the automated platforms. The defense platforms lasted only minutes longer. Phoenix Squadron's fighters were equipped with quantum-enhanced missiles that tore through the platform shields like they weren't there. One by one, the automated defenses went silent. Platforms destroyed, Rick reported. Beginning attack on the cruiser. The Corlan light cruiser, commanded by Captain Zek Vor, finally realized what was happening when explosions began lighting up around the depot. But by then it was too late. The cruiser's sensors couldn't lock onto the attacking fighters, and their weapons couldn't hit targets they couldn't see. This is madness, Zek Vor growled in his native language as he watched his ship's shields failing under the mysterious attack. Where are they coming from? His communications officer looked up from her station with fear in her multiple eyes.
Sir, I cannot establish contact with the patrol or the platforms. All communication arrays on the depot have been destroyed. Send a distress signal to the sector command. I cannot, sir. The communication relays have been targeted first.
We are completely cut off. On the USS Vengeance, John watched his fighters systematically destroy the Corlan cruiser. The advanced human weapons cut through the alien ship's armor like it was made of thin metal. Within 30 minutes, the cruiser was drifting powerless, its crew either dead or unconscious from system failures. Depot defenses neutralized, Rick reported. Ready for the next phase. Excellent work, Phoenix Squadron. Return to base and prepare for search and rescue operations. Chief Engineer Tony Clark had been monitoring the weapon performance from engineering. Captain, the new systems exceeded all expectations. Our fighters used less than 20% of their ammunition to destroy everything. What about the depot structure itself? Intact, sir. We targeted only the defensive systems and the communications arrays, just like you ordered. Dr. Helen Parker was already suiting up in the medical bay along with her rescue teams. Captain, we're ready to board the facility and extract the human prisoners. Go. Take Security Chief Danny Rodriguez and his team with you. I don't want any surprises. The rescue operation moved quickly. Danny Rodriguez led his security team through the depot's corridors, while Dr. Parker's medical teams located the human prisoners. What they found broke their hearts and made their anger burn hotter. The humans they rescued were thin and tired, with the look of people who had been slaves for their entire lives. Many had never seen the sky of a free world. They were descendants of the humans captured during the original war, born into slavery and knowing nothing else. My God, Dr. Parker whispered, as she treated a young man who couldn't have been more than 20 years old. Some of these people have never known freedom. One of the rescued humans, an older man named Ben Cooper, stared at the human soldiers with disbelief. You're real, he whispered. The stories were true. Humans from before the coalition. What stories? Danny Rodriguez asked gently. The old ones told us that some humans escaped the conquest, that they would come back someday. But we thought they were just stories to help us sleep at night. Dr. Parker felt tears in her eyes. We're here now. You're free. The rescued humans numbered 73 in total, ranging from teenagers to elderly people who remembered the early days of the occupation. They were brought aboard the USS Vengeance and given medical care, food, and most importantly, hope. Back on the bridge, John was reviewing the mission results with his senior staff. The attack had been a complete success. The depot was destroyed. Its stored fuel and ammunition now drifting as debris in space. The Corlan cruiser was a burned-out wreck and not a single distress signal had escaped the system. Intelligence assessment? John asked. Karen Davis consulted her reports. The depot serviced coalition forces across 6 systems. Its destruction will force them to reroute supply ships and stretch their logistics thin. They'll notice the missing supplies within a week. And the rescued humans? Dr. Helen Parker joined them on the bridge, looking exhausted, but satisfied. All 73 are in good health considering their circumstances. But, Captain, some of them have valuable intelligence. They know about other slave populations and coalition weaknesses. Debrief them carefully. I want to know everything they can tell us. Squadron Leader Rick Thompson entered the bridge, still wearing his flight suit. His face showed the satisfaction of a pilot who had just completed a perfect mission. Captain, Phoenix Squadron performed flawlessly. The new fighters exceeded all expectations. We could have taken on 10 times as many enemies and still won easily. Casualties? 0, sir. Not even a scratch on any fighter. Steve Williams looked up from his tactical station. Sir, Long-range sensors show normal coalition traffic patterns. No indication they've discovered what happened here yet. How long before they investigate? The next supply convoy isn't scheduled for 6 days, but the cruiser was supposed to report in tomorrow. John nodded. Then we have time for one more target before they realize something is wrong. Amy, plot a course for the Corlin communication relay in the Vega system. If we're going to fight a shadow war, we need to keep them blind. As the USS Mob Vengeance prepared to leave the New Geneva system, John looked back at the debris field that had once been a Coalition supply depot. It was a small victory, but it was a start. For 3 centuries, the aliens had lived without fear of human retaliation. Those days were over. Admiral Korthul of the Zephyrian Navy sat in his command center on the military station above Zephyr Prime, staring at reports that made no sense. 3 supply depots destroyed in 2 weeks. 2 communication relays completely wiped out. A patrol squadron vanished without sending a single distress signal. This cannot be the work of pirates, growled his aide, Commander Velkar. Pirates steal cargo. They don't systematically destroy everything and leave no survivors. Then what? Korthul demanded, his forearms gesturing in frustration. The humans are extinct. The Corlins say their systems are secure. The Mantids claim their borders are quiet. Across the galaxy, Intelligence Director Velshan of the Mantid Collective was studying similar reports in her underground command center. Unlike the hot-headed Zephyrians, the insectoid Mantids approached problems with cold logic. The attack patterns are familiar, she clicked to her assistant. These tactics match historical human military doctrine from before the conquest. Impossible, her assistant replied. All human military forces were destroyed 3 centuries ago. Were they? Velshan pulled up classified files from the original war. Several human ships vanished during the final battles. They were presumed destroyed, but no wreckage was ever found. Meanwhile, the USS Vengeance was conducting its 4th successful raid in 3 weeks. Captain John Martinez watched from the bridge as Phoenix Squadron destroyed another Coalition patrol base, this one belonging to the Corlin Collective in the Outer Rim. Mission complete, Captain, Squadron Leader Rick Thompson reported over the comm. All enemy forces neutralized. No distress signals sent. Casualties on our side? None, sir. The enemy fighters couldn't even see us coming. Commander Steve Williams looked up from his tactical station with a grim smile. Sir, we've now eliminated over 40 Coalition ships without taking a single loss. The rescued human slaves had proved invaluable sources of intelligence. Ben Cooper, the older man they had saved from the first depot, had worked on dozens of Coalition facilities over his lifetime. He knew shipping schedules, security weaknesses, and most importantly, the locations of other human slave populations. Captain, Ben said during one of their intelligence briefings, there's something else you should know. The Coalition members don't really trust each other. The Zephyrians think they're superior to everyone else. The Corlins only care about profit. The Mantids keep to themselves and make deals with whoever benefits them most. Karen Davis, the intelligence officer, found this information very interesting. Are you saying the Coalition isn't as unified as it appears? Not at all, replied Maria Santos, another rescued slave who had worked in communication centers. I've seen their diplomatic messages. They argue constantly about territory, resources, and military responsibilities. The only thing that kept them together was the belief that no one could challenge them. Dr. Helen Parker had been working with the rescued humans to identify other slave populations. The information they provided painted a horrifying picture of 3 centuries of oppression, but it also revealed opportunities. There are human resistance cells on at least 12 worlds, she reported to John during a staff meeting. Small groups that have maintained their identity despite the occupation. Some of them have been sabotaging Coalition operations for decades. Can we contact them? John asked. Some of them, yes. Maria Santos knows communication codes that some groups still use. John felt hope growing in his chest. They weren't alone. Humanity had survived, scattered and enslaved, but still fighting in small ways. The USS Vengeance's next target was a major supply convoy traveling through the neutral zone between Zephyrian and Corlin space. Intelligence indicated it carried enough military supplies to equip an entire coalition battle group. Convoy consists of 6 cargo ships escorted by 2 Zephyrian destroyers and 4 Corlin frigates, Steve Williams reported, as they approached the interception point. That's a lot more firepower than we've faced before, noted Tony Clark from engineering. It's time to test our ship's combat capabilities, John decided. We've been using fighters for everything so far. Let's see what the USS Vengeance can do in direct combat. The attack began at maximum range. The USS Vengeance's plasma lance arrays reached out across space and touched the Coalition escort ships with devastating effect. The Zephyrian destroyers, commanded by Captain Zorval, suddenly found their shields failing under weapons fire that seemed to come from empty space. "Where are they?" Zorval roared at his sensor operator. "I cannot locate the enemy, sir." The attacks are coming from nowhere. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. The USS Vengeance's advanced weapons and stealth capabilities made it a ghost that struck without warning. By the end, all 6 escort ships were destroyed, and the cargo vessels were drifting helplessly. "Boarding parties away," Danny Rodriguez reported from the security bay. "We'll secure any slaves and gather intelligence from the cargo manifests." What they found in the convoy's cargo holds was disturbing. Weapons, ammunition, and supplies bound for a major coalition military base. But more importantly, they found records of troop movements and fleet dispositions. "Captain, you need to see this," Karen Davis said urgently when the boarding parties returned. The captured intelligence revealed that the coalition was planning a major expansion into unexplored regions of the galaxy. New worlds to conquer, new species to subjugate. They're not content with what they have, John realized. They want more. "There's something else," Karen continued. "The intelligence indicates internal problems. The Zephyrians are demanding a larger share of conquered territory. The Corlins are complaining about military costs. Several minor coalition members are threatening to leave the alliance." Steve Williams looked thoughtful. "We're not just hurting their military capabilities. We're creating fear and uncertainty. That's making their existing problems worse." Dr. Helen Parker had been monitoring coalition communication channels that Maria Santos helped them access. "Captain, I'm picking up some interesting chatter. Coalition commanders are demanding explanations from their intelligence services. Some of them are starting to suspect that humans might be involved." "Let them suspect," John said. "By the time they're sure, we'll have rescued thousands of our people and crippled their logistics network." The USS Vengeance's campaign of terror was working better than anyone had hoped. Each successful attack made the coalition more paranoid and less trusting of each other. Their military commanders were demanding more escorts for supply convoys, which stretched their forces thin. Their intelligence services were chasing shadows and false leads, but the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Ben Cooper, who had been working with Tony Clark to understand coalition technology, made a discovery that changed everything. "Captain, we've cracked their military communication codes," Ben reported excitedly. "Not only can we listen to their radio traffic, but we can send false messages." "False messages?" John asked. "We can make Zephyrian commanders think they're receiving orders from Corlan forces or vice versa. We can spread disinformation and create confusion throughout their entire network." Karen Davis smiled for the first time in weeks. "We can turn them against each other." That night, the USS Vengeance began broadcasting false messages throughout coalition space. Zephyrian admirals received fake reports of Corlin ships violating their territory. Corlin commanders got urgent warnings about Mantid fleets moving toward their borders. Mantid intelligence received false data suggesting both the Zephyrians and Corlans were planning to attack them. Within days, coalition military units were being repositioned to defend against threats that didn't exist. Border disputes that had been quiet for years suddenly flared up. Trust between coalition members began to break down. Admiral Korthul found himself in emergency meetings with coalition leadership, trying to sort out conflicting reports and accusations. "The humans are behind this," declared Intelligence Director Velshan during one particularly heated session. "The attack patterns, the systematic targeting of supply lines, the communication disruption, This has human military doctrine written all over it. Impossible, insisted Admiral Korthul. We destroyed their entire fleet. Their worlds are rubble. Their species is extinct. Then explain these attacks? Velshan clicked coldly. As coalition, forces began turning their sensors inward, looking for threats from each other instead of external enemies. Captain John Martinez and the crew of the USS Vengeance prepared for their most ambitious mission yet. They were going to hit the coalition, where it would hurt most. They were going to attack the main military supply base that served the entire Zephyrian fleet. The emergency session of the Coalition High Command took place on the neutral station of Nexus Point, where representatives from all 7 member species gathered in crisis. Admiral Korthul paced the chamber floor, his forearms gesturing wildly as he spoke. 15 major facilities destroyed, over 200 ships lost, supply lines crippled across 6 sectors, and still no confirmed visual contact with the enemy. Intelligence Director Velshan of the Mantid Collective clicked her mandibles impatiently. I have analyzed every attack pattern, every tactical decision, every target selection. This is not random piracy or rebellion. This is coordinated military action using human doctrine. The humans are extinct, roared General Krixtor of the Corlin Collective, his insectoid claws scraping the metal table. We divided their worlds among ourselves. We enslaved their survivors. There are no human military forces left. Then explain this. Velshan activated a holographic display showing the locations of every attack over the past month. Perfect coordination, no wasted effort, strategic targeting of communication relays and supply depots, classic human military thinking. Supreme Commander Thexul of the Mantid military caste leaned forward. If humans have returned, we must mobilize everything. The historical records show what they were capable of when desperate. Admiral Korthul stopped pacing. I am authorizing the formation of Hunter Fleet 1, 15,000 ships from all coalition members. We will find these attackers and destroy them. Far from the coalition meeting, the USS Vengeance was hidden in the Meridian Nebula, a massive cloud of ionized gas that interfered with most sensor systems. Captain John Martinez stood in the main briefing room with his senior staff and the rescued human leaders. Intelligence reports indicate the coalition is assembling a massive fleet to hunt us, Karen Davis announced. Over 15,000 ships from all member species. Commander Steve Williams whistled softly. That's 20 times larger than anything we've faced before. 30 times larger, corrected Tony Clark from engineering. But sir, I have an idea about that. John looked at his chief engineer. Go ahead, Tony. The Meridian Nebula interferes with coalition sensors, but our systems can cut right through the interference. If we can lure their fleet here, we could use the nebula to our advantage. Dr. Helen Parker looked concerned. Captain, even with our technological advantages, 15,000 ships is an enormous number. Not if they can't coordinate properly, suggested Ben Cooper, one of the rescued slaves who had become an unofficial advisor. I've worked on coalition command ships. Their different species use different communication protocols. In a nebula that interferes with long-range communications, they'll have trouble working together. Squadron leader Rick Thompson leaned forward. Sir, Phoenix Squadron has been running combat simulations. Our fighters can operate perfectly in the nebula conditions. Their fighters will be flying blind. What about capital ship combat? John asked. Steve Williams pulled up tactical displays. Sir, during our sleep, Area didn't just build new weapons. The ship deployed and constructed dozens of automated defense platforms throughout this nebula. They're invisible to coalition, sensors and armed with our best weapons. John stared at the display showing the hidden platforms scattered throughout the nebula. How many? 47 platforms, sir. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a coalition battleship. So we're not fighting 15,000 ships with just one carrier, John realized. We're fighting them with one carrier and 47 hidden weapons platforms in a nebula that blinds their sensors but not ours. Exactly, sir. Maria Santos, another rescued human who had worked in coalition communications, spoke up. Captain, I might be able to help with something else. I know how to access coalition military frequencies. If we can get close enough to their command ships, I might be able to disrupt their communications completely. John felt a plan forming in his mind. It was dangerous, probably insane, but it might work. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send them a message. A real one this time, not a false signal. We're going to tell them exactly where we are and invite them to come fight us. Dr. Helen Parker looked shocked. Captain, that's suicide. No, Helen. That's human military doctrine. When you're outnumbered, you choose the battlefield. The message was broadcast on all coalition frequencies 24 hours later. Captain John Martinez appeared on screens throughout coalition space, wearing his full military uniform with the insignia of Earth's lost fleet. I am Captain John Martinez of the Earth Federation starship USS Vengeance. For 300 years you have enslaved our people and divided our worlds among yourselves. You believed humanity was extinct. You were wrong. The message continued with details of every attack the USS Vengeance had carried out, along with a challenge that no military commander could ignore. We are waiting for you in the Meridian Nebula. Come and finish what you started 3 centuries ago. Come and face the last ship of Earth. The reaction throughout coalition space was immediate and intense. Admiral Korthul ordered the Hunter fleet to maximum speed toward the nebula. Intelligence Director Velshan warned that it was obviously a trap, but her concerns were drowned out by demands for immediate action. General Krixtor of the Corlin forces was especially eager for battle. 1 human ship against 15,000 coalition vessels? This will be the shortest battle in galactic history. But Supreme Commander Thexol of the Mantids was more cautious. The humans would not issue such a challenge without a plan. We should proceed carefully. The Hunter fleet arrived at the edge of the Meridian Nebula 72 hours after receiving the message. Admiral Korthul commanded from his flagship, a massive Zephyrian dreadnought called the Crushing Victory. Sensors show 1 large ship, deep inside the nebula, reported his sensor officer. Confirmed human design but much larger than any ship in our historical records. Size of their fleet? Just the 1 ship, sir. No escort vessels detected. Admiral Korthul couldn't believe it. The humans had really come with just 1 ship to face 15,000 coalition vessels. All ships advance into the nebula. Maintain formation. We end this now. What happened next would be remembered as the Battle of Meridian Nebula, the engagement that changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. As the coalition fleet entered the nebula, their sensors began to malfunction. The ionized gas clouds interfered with their targeting systems and long-range communications. Ships that had been in perfect formation began to spread out as they lost contact with each other. The USS Vengeance struck first. Its plasma lance arrays reached out through the nebula and touched 3 coalition battleships, destroying them instantly. But to the coalition forces, the attack seemed to come from empty space. Where are they? Admiral Korthul roared. Why can't our sensors find them? Then the hidden platforms activated. 47 automated weapons stations throughout the nebula opened fire simultaneously, their quantum torpedoes and plasma cannons tearing into the coalition fleet from all directions. Coalition ships found themselves under attack from enemies they couldn't see, couldn't target, and couldn't understand. Their formations collapsed as captains tried to avoid weapons fire that seemed to come from the nebula itself. Squadron leader Rick Thompson led Phoenix Squadron into the chaos, his fighters invisible to coalition sensors. The human pilots carved through enemy formations like wolves among sheep, destroying fighters and bombers that never saw them coming. The battle raged for 18 hours. Coalition ships destroyed each other in the confusion, firing at sensor contacts that turned out to be their own allies. The different species' communication systems couldn't work together in the nebula's interference, leaving their forces uncoordinated and vulnerable. By the time Admiral Korthul realized the scope of the disaster, over half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The Crushing Victory itself was burning from multiple hits, its shields down and weapons offline. Retreat, he finally ordered. All ships, withdraw from the nebula immediately. But the retreat became a rout as coalition forces fled in panic. abandoning damaged ships and leaving thousands of their people behind. Captain John Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Vengeance, watching the remnants of the Coalition fleet scatter in terror. Around him, his crew worked calmly at their stations, monitoring the withdrawal of the enemy forces. "Damage report," John requested. "Minor hull damage to Sections 7 and 12, Tony Clark reported from engineering. "All primary systems operational." "Casualties?" "None, sir," Dr. Helen Parker replied. "Some crew members treated for minor injuries, but everyone is fit for duty." Steve Williams looked up from his tactical station. "Sir, long-range sensors show Coalition ships fleeing in all directions. They're not regrouping, they're running home." John activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. Today we have achieved something remarkable. A single human ship and its crew have defeated the largest military fleet ever assembled in galactic history." He paused, looking out at the debris field that stretched throughout the nebula. "But this is not the end. This is the beginning. We have shown the galaxy that humanity is not extinct, not defeated, and not forgotten. Now we go home. We reclaim our worlds, free our people, and take back what was stolen from us."